AI, it's everywhere, right? And so is the talk about our jobs. There's a ton of hype, and let's be real, a lot of fear. But what's actually going on? What does the research say? Well, in this explainer, we're going to slice right through that noise and get straight to the data.
So let's just get right to it. The big question we're all thinking about. Is AI really coming for your job? Or is it something else? Is it maybe coming for your peace of mind? Because the data is starting to show that the impact here is just as much in our heads as it is in our wallets.
Yeah, that feeling? It actually has a name, AI anxiety. And look, this isn't just some new buzzword. Researchers are out there right now measuring how it's affecting people in the real world.
So, a recent study dug into this very thing, the stress AI is causing. And what they found is pretty clear. If you're in a job that seems like it could be automated, your job-related anxiety is probably on the rise. It's not just about losing the job itself, It's that feeling of uncertainty, that fear of being left behind. That's what really messes with you.
And here's where it gets really interesting. This anxiety isn't spread out evenly. The study focused on India, and it found that folks working in IT and IT-enabled services, like call centers, back office support, they reported way higher levels of worry. Isn't that a strange paradox? The very people who are closest to the tech are the ones feeling the most heat.
Okay, so the anxiety is definitely real. We've established that. But what about the core fear? Are we talking about mass job loss? Well, a huge new report from the Boston Consulting Group, you'll see them called BCG, paints a very different picture, a much more nuanced one. They're saying it's not so much about jobs being replaced, it's about jobs being completely reshaped.
All right, get a load of this number. BCG's model predicts that a massive 50 to 55%, that's more than half of all jobs in the US, are going to be significantly reshaped by AI. And we're talking within the next few years. Now notice the word reshaped. These jobs aren't just vanishing into thin air, but what you do day to day, the skills you need, all of that is about to change. Big time.
Okay, now let's compare that to this number. The very same report says the maximum share of jobs that could be straight up eliminated, well, that's a whole lot lower. We're talking somewhere in the ballpark of 10 to 15%. See the difference? This is so crucial. The real story here isn't about jobs disappearing. It's about jobs evolving.
So this all really boils down to two key ideas, augmentation versus substitution. Let's break it down. Augmentation is when AI helps you do your job better. A perfect example is a software engineer using an AI assistant to crank out code way faster. It's a tool, right? It enhances their skills. Then you've got substitution. That's when AI straight up replaces human tasks. Think about a call center. An AI can handle all the simple questions, which means you just don't need as many people for that job. So one helps, the other replaces. Simple as that.
So you might be thinking, wait, if AI makes everyone more efficient, won't we just need fewer people? It's a good question, but it's not that simple. And it comes down to this cool economic idea called the Jevons paradox. The BCG report points this out really well. Think about software engineering again. When AI makes it cheaper and faster to build software, companies don't just fire their engineers. Nope. What happens is the demand for more software, more apps, more features just explodes. And suddenly, they might need just as many engineers, maybe even more, to handle all this new work.
Okay, so things are getting complicated, right? Jobs are being augmented, substituted, reshaped. How do we even begin to make sense of all this? Well, don't worry. The BCG report actually gives us a really helpful framework to understand this whole new job landscape.
Okay, so BCG breaks it all down into 6 different categories. Let's walk through them. First up, you have the jobs where AI augments what we do. Inside that, you have amplified roles, like our software engineer example, where AI makes them more productive and the demand for them actually goes up. Then there are rebalanced roles, like content marketing. AI helps, for sure, but the total demand is kind of capped by things like company budgets. Okay, next bucket, roles where AI substitutes for us. Divergent roles are really interesting. Think of an insurance agent. AI might replace some of their old tasks, but it could also open up totally new markets so the job kind of splits into 2 directions. Then you have the straightforward, substituted roles, like some financial analysts, where AI takes over the routine stuff and the need for a human to do that just shrinks. And finally, there are 2 other groups. You've got enabled jobs, like a lab technician who just uses AI as another tool in their kit. And then there are limited exposure jobs, think physicians or nurses, that rely so much on physical touch and complex human interaction that AI just can't get there. At least not yet.
But here's the catch. Even if your job is safe, the BCG report points to some hidden challenges we need to talk about. First,
As AI takes over all the boring, routine stuff, what's left for us humans? The hard stuff, right? So the skill level needed for the remaining jobs goes way up. This can also lead to a heavier mental load. You're always on, always doing the deep thinking, which can be exhausting. And this brings up a massive question. If AI does all the simple work, how does anyone get their foot in the door? We could be looking at a future with a real shortage of those classic entry-level positions. Okay, I know, this can all sound a little overwhelming, but the good news is the research doesn't just drop these problems on us and walk away. It also points to some really clear strategies for how to navigate this change, for both companies and for us, the employees. Let's jump back for a second to that study on AI anxiety, because one of its most powerful findings was actually a solution. And it turns out, it's not rocket science. It found that when a company offers real support, we're talking simple things like being clear about their AI strategy, providing good training, that is the key. It's what helps reduce all that stress and allows people to actually adapt. And the BCG report really builds on this. It lays out a clear 4-step action plan for leaders. Step 1 is a big mindset shift. You got to stop treating your people like an afterthought. Your workforce is your strategy. Step 2, use AI to really redesign how work gets done, not just as a lazy way to cut costs. Step 3, make upskilling and reskilling a core part of your culture. It has to be constant. And finally, number 4, and this one is so important, leaders have to control the narrative. Frame AI as a tool that creates value and opportunity, not as something to be afraid of.
All right, for this last part, let's pull the camera way, way back. Because what if this moment isn't just about changing our jobs? What if it's about changing our whole idea of what a job even means?
Think about it. We see the whole 9 to 5 thing, the fixed salary, the rigid job description. We think that's just how it is, how it's always been. But it's not. That's actually a pretty new invention in the grand scheme of things, something that came out of the Industrial Revolution. For most of human history, work was way more fluid, more independent than that.
And this quote just nails it. No one is inherently born to be an employee. It completely challenges this idea that our natural state is to fit neatly into a box someone else created for us. It suggests we're capable of so much more. And that's what I want to leave you with. This one big, provocative question. If AI automates the job as we know it, what new role will we invent for ourselves? Because the conversation isn't just about what new jobs will appear. It's about what new ways of contributing, of creating, of being we will invent. And that's the real future of work.